I told you in the last video, there are two equations for circles. One is called standard and one is called general. So you already know the standard form. That's this equation right here. This is standard form. So we've got things in parentheses, x's being squared, and y's in parentheses being squared equals r squared. We like this form because we can very quickly find the center of the circle and identify the radius of the circle. But if I were to take this equation, so here's an example here, x minus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared. If I were to FOIL that all out, you know x minus 1 squared is x minus 1 times x minus 1. So if I were to go ahead and FOIL this all out, and then also the y minus 2's and FOIL it all out, I would get this second line right here, and then if I were to combine, gather anything that's alike and combine like terms, I would get down to here and keep going, and I would end up with this equation right here. So this equation here we're going to learn is the general form. So this is general. It is equivalent because all we did was FOIL and combine like terms. So these two equations that are starred are actually equivalent. They both describe the exact same circle. This is called standard form. This is called general form. This is a little harder. It's pretty difficult to find the center of the circle and the radius of the circle when it's in this form. So you are never going to be asked to go from standard to general form. That's kind of a useless practice to do, so you're never going to be asked to go in that direction. However, you are going to be given and expected to know how to go from general up to standard. So you need to be able to convert this equation right here back up into our standard form so that we can go ahead and graph it. We can find the center, we can find the radius. So the general form has an equation. X squared plus y squared equals some coefficient times x plus some coefficient times y plus a constant term. Sometimes a constant term is on the left, sometimes it's on the right. But this is the general form. Notice there are no parentheses here. Okay? So I found this on the internet, so I copied it for your notes. I thought somebody had put a lot of time into this, and I thought it was very helpful. So if we start with a general form up here, what we're going to have to do, and I know this is a bad word to you guys, but we're going to have to complete the squares. But we're going to do it twice. We're going to do it for the x's and for the y's. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather my x's together. So I'm going to group these two x's, and I'm going to group these two y's. I'm just going to put them next to each other, and then that -4, I'm going to just pop that over to the other side. So that's not so hard, right? When we completed the square last unit, I generally like to leave a space here after so that it reminds me I need to add something there. So I would leave a space and then close my parenthesis. Okay, so we're just going to complete the square twice. The good news is that unlike the last chapter, the leading coefficients in this for completing the square for a circle are always going to be 1. So you're never going to have to divide everything by some leading coefficient because it's just going to be x squared and y squared. So if we take this form, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of my b term. So half of -2 is -1, and -1 squared is, well, actually they left it like this, so they do -1 squared. So what I recommend that you do, I know you guys have these in your notes, is that the terms that are being added are -1 and -1, and then we're going to get down to this. We're going to do these -2, -2's. So these are the terms that are being added. We simply took half of that b, -1, and then we squared it and added it to both sides. Then we're going to complete the square for the y's. So half of -2 or -4 is -2, so we're going to add -2 squared to both sides. So now I can simplify this a little bit. -1 squared is just going to be +1. And -2 squared is going to be +4. And then I can factor this. So we're going to practice this in a minute. But x squared minus 2x plus 1 simplifies into x minus 1 squared. And this guy factors into y minus 2 squared. So this is beautiful because I went from this general form up here all the way down to standard form so that I can find, my center of my circle is +1, +2. Remember, opposite, opposite, and my radius is 3. And then we could easily graph that, plot it at 1, 2, and then go up, down, left, and right 3 units. So I have 2 examples to practice with you. So let's try this one first. So again, I want to get my x's and my y's together. So I'm going to write x squared plus 8x, and I'm going to leave a space, and I'm going to add to that y squared minus 12y, leave a space, and then I'm going to move that 27 over to the other side. So I'm going to, what am I going to add to both sides? So I'm going to take half of my b, so 8, so half of b is 4, and 4 squared is 16. So I'm going to add 16 here, and I'm going to add 16 here. And I'm going to do the same thing a second time for the y's. So half of negative 12 is negative 6. Negative 6 squared is 36. So I'm going to add 36 and add 36. And this becomes negative 27 plus 16 plus 36 is 25. So the right side of this becomes positive 25. And I'm going to factor, I'm going to factor each of these. So this becomes x plus 4 squared. This is always going to be whatever half of your b is. So half of 8 is positive 4, so it's going to be x plus 4. And I can use that same logic over here. Half of this b is negative 6, so it's going to be y minus 6 squared equals 25. And this is great because now I know I can easily see that my center is going to be negative 4 comma positive 6, and my radius is, remember, this is r squared. So 25 equals r squared, so r equals 5. So my radius equals 5. And I could easily graph that. So let me do one more example with you. Okay. So I'm going to combine my x's on one together. So I'm going to have x squared minus 10x, and then leave a space. And then y squared minus 8y, leave a space, equals negative 7. Remember to move that constant term over to the other side. So half of my b term, so negative 5 squared, I'm going to add 25 and add 25. Half of my b term here, I'm going to add 16, add 16. So this factors nicely. This is going to be x, and then half of that b term, so negative 5 squared, and this is going to be y minus 4 squared. And this equals 34. Okay, so I can easily see that my center is at positive 5, positive 4, so 5 comma 4, that's the center of my circle, and my radius is, remember, this equals r squared, so my r equals square root of 34. So my r equals the square root of 34, and again, if I were to ask you to graph this, you would simply go left and right. That's about 5.8, and it's okay to estimate that, so you would go left, right, up, and down approximately 5.8 units. And that is everything you need to know about circles.